Module 7. Putting your KRA data to work. At this point, you've learned all about how to administer the KRA authentically, efficiently, and with fidelity. You are well equipped to gather meaningful data using the KRA. But the true value of this data comes from your ability to make sense of it and take action according to what you see. This module will focus on how to access and interpret KRA reports and how to use KRA data in your instructional planning. All KRA reports are available in the K-Ready online system. Let's take a look at 3 key reports and the ways that each can support your decision-making. Domain Data Export. We'll start with the Domain Data Export. This report provides a real-time view of all item scores that have been entered into the K-Ready system for each domain. It calculates each student's total points in the domain and the class's average score for each of the items. These totals and averages reflect whatever has been entered into the system at the time you downloaded the report, even if you've only entered a few scores. This means you can always use your data right away. Just be aware that the averages and totals will change over time until you've finalized all scores. There are a variety of key insights that you can gather using the information in the Domain Data Export. First, you can identify skills and topics that are areas of strength and areas of need for your class as a whole. Next, you can identify which students may need extra support or an additional challenge in each domain. Finally, many teachers use the Domain Data Export to form flexible small groups for instruction. Depending on the activity, you may group students with similar scores together, or create mixed groups that encourage students to collaborate and learn from each other. As you begin to look at KRA data and plan for your own instruction, you'll also want to access the Instructional Resource Library on the KRA Professional Development site. The library can be filtered by topic or by KRA item, and includes valuable ideas for teaching all of the concepts covered on the KRA. Let's consider a classroom example. Ms. Douglas is in the middle of the KRA administration window and is planning for an upcoming lesson about comparing quantities. To gather information about students' prior knowledge, she decides to focus on administering all KRA items related to quantity comparison. Once she's done, Ms. Douglas downloads the Domain Data Export and sees that about half of her students were able to compare quantities on the KRA. She decides to form 2 flexible groups. One group of students who got full points on these KRA items, and one group of students who did not get full points. Then, Ms. Douglas plans her instruction so that the first group can practice with larger quantities and more complex comparison, while the second group practices important foundational skills. Individual Student Report, ISR. The second key report is the Individual Student Report, or ISR. The ISR shows the students' KRA summary scores in a family-friendly format. It can be used to help others understand a child's strengths and needs, and to communicate how you plan to support the child's growth throughout the year. It's important to share the ISR with families, and many teachers find it helpful in initiating a school-family dialogue. The ISR can be generated as soon as you have administered all of the KRA items to a student, even before the end of the administration window. Manually generating an ISR in your K-Ready account will finalize the student's scores, and this action cannot be undone. If you prefer, you can also simply wait until the end of the administration window, at which point all ISRs will be automatically generated into your account. Let's consider Ms. Douglas again as she plans for a conference with her student Jonathan's family. In preparation, she administers all of the KRA items to Jonathan and generates his ISR. She walks through the ISR with his family at the conference explaining that the KRA provides baseline information to inform instruction at the beginning of the year. Ms. Douglas shares Jonathan's strengths and her plans to support his needs. She also shares a few key ways that the family can work with Jonathan at home and asks for any suggestions or input they'd like to share. Data displays. Finally, let's take a look at the data displays. KRA data displays include a variety of interactive visuals that highlight trends in your KRA results. Once a student's ISR is generated, either manually during the administration window or automatically at the end of the window, the student's scores will be incorporated into the data displays in your KReady account. Within the data displays, you'll be able to see KRA results in different chart types. You can click to see the names of students associated with each data point and add filters to identify trends by subgroup. The data displays also include domain-level views. It's helpful to compare the domains to one another, looking for outliers and how the majority of students scored. Let's return to Ms. Douglas as she wraps up KRA administration. Ms. Douglas decides to use the data displays to better understand trends across her class. She notices that most of her students are demonstrating readiness and makes note of the students who showed approaching or emerging readiness. In each domain, she identifies the students who had the highest and lowest scores, using this information to form flexible groups. She also uses a filter to see how her English learner students scored in each domain and meets with the EL teacher to collaboratively discuss the data. Key points. Here are some key points to remember. There are many reports available to you in the KReady online system. The domain data export provides real-time raw scores for each item. The individual student report provides summary scores for sharing with families and other school staff. The data displays allow you to visualize trends in overall scores and in each domain.